Okay, this is a video to show the installation of a thermostat. This is my old thermostat. It's a Honeywell. This is a 5-weekday plus a weekend schedule. So the restriction on this is that Saturday and Sunday are the same, but you get Monday through Friday programmability with I don't know exactly the number of set points during the day. It's got a little break there, you can see on the up button. It's worked out okay, but here's the problem. I want to replace it with this. It's a Wi-Fi thermostat. I've used this thermostat in my downstairs zone. I'm in the upstairs zone right now. And the reason I like it is because when we go away for a weekend, and or if we don't know when we're coming back, I like the idea that I can turn the heat down and then turn the heat back up when we're leaving so that it will be warm enough when we get back. Okay? In the past, I have turned the heat down, and when we come back, everything's very cold and it's not good. The wife does not like it when everything is cold upstairs. And so now, you know, with this, you can reprogram it. It's for up until the day that you think you're coming back. If you think you're coming back on a Sunday, there's a bit of a problem because the heat is going to be on the Saturday. And or if you try changing the date on this so that it thinks you're coming back on a Tuesday, even though it's the weekend because you've changed the date, it is possible, but it's an annoyance, and it does not handle the case when you don't know when you're going to return. Also, it's battery powered, and so you do have to replace the batteries. Not a big deal. Okay, but the Wi-Fi is more flexible, has more set points. Okay, now the problem is that particular Wi-Fi requires an extra cord. You can see this is the extra thermostat wire that I'm routing to it. The original one did not require that. It has a battery to drive the electronics, but the Wi-Fi does not run off battery. Okay. Now, I've routed this in, and I did it by coming down through the attic. In the first floor, I did it by coming up through the basement, but I can't come up through the basement. And I don't want to come up through the first floor because I have to go through the wall, the ceiling of the first floor. So my idea is to go up into the attic, route it over until I get to a spot where there's a closet. Then right down to where there's actually a closet on the first floor, and then go down into the basement. So that's the idea. And I'll just show you the work that I've done in order to do that. First, I'll mention that one thing I didn't fully realize was the fact that this outlet is here and this is here implies that there's probably a stud on this side. And I took this off and I saw where the hole was. I lined this up to drill in the attic through the top plate right at that spot, not realizing that it's going to be exactly right next to a stud. And if I had looked more carefully, I can actually see the stud through this hole. Well, it turns out I lucked out. Even though I tried to put it right there, I did not hit the stud. It did come in just to the right of the stud, but that was just luck. Okay. Then when I tried to fish the wire, I did have to drill an extra hole simply because it turns out the thermostat cables were also routed up rather than down. Okay. And it turns out that the electrical for here is also routed up on that same stud. So it turns out when I drilled down right through that on that top plate, I was probably a little bit lucky that I didn't hit either the electrical cable or this other thermostat wire, which would have been in that vicinity. I should have targeted this over into the middle area and then just gave up on the fact that I had to drill another hole. As far as I know, I didn't damage any of these other wires, okay, because everything is still working. This thermostat is still working fine. Okay, but I can't really verify that for sure because I don't want to open the wall up, so I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. Okay, now I'll show you what I did in the attic for this project. Okay, there's my target hole. And what I did was, using a ruler, a long ruler, and a tape measure, what I did was I laid out by making reference points downstairs in the hall on the ceiling. I transferred those across into the attic. I measured it down to the spot where I thought it would be. Naturally, I double checked my measurements. This, for example, is where the outside wall is. That's a 1/2 inch for the wall board. 1 3/4 inches to put me in the middle of the stud. That's what saved me, that I didn't hit those wires, because they may not have been routed in the middle. Honestly, I don't really know. Okay, I drilled down with my 18-inch drill at 1/8 of an inch for this thermostat wire, and using my wife to help, we were able to basically fish this down there. Okay. Now, on the other side of this, I went down to where I knew there was a closet. Okay. And I was a little bit lucky, because I'm going to be able to run this right next to this vent pipe, and that's going to help protect it. Okay, because running it right directly across from the attic floor would not be as desirable. I can route this somehow on top, or what I'll probably actually do is try to go right underneath it. Okay. Now, my target hole is in the closet. I have some flexibility. Okay, and I saw that when my target hole was around here for the corner of the closet downstairs, I realized I could just move this a little bit and then drill it here, and then that way I don't drill an extra hole. Not a big deal. Okay. Now let me show you how this comes out in the closet underneath. Okay, this is inside a bedroom closet, and you can see up there that it turns out that my hole that I drilled was within about 1 inch of the corner. And what I did was, using a drill and scraper, I cut away the ceiling wall board and the plaster to get that to the corner, because I want to route it down on the corner, because that's going to provide the most protection, and it's the best place to route it. Okay. If I routed it on the wall, for example, something could hit it and brush it aside. In the corner, that can't happen. Now, it is possible for something to bang into it. I could add some protection on top of this. So far, what I've done is I've stapled it down, okay? Using a special stapling technique, okay? Now, down at the bottom, you can see it doesn't lay perfectly flat, and that's because what I didn't do is I didn't go to pains to untwist the wire, the cable. If I had, I could have laid it down flat. But this was the first closet I did. Downstairs, I'm doing a little bit of a better job. Now, I took off the baseboards, okay? Just some of the plaster that I've been drilling. Okay, I took off the baseboards, and then I routed that all the way down to the floor, and then along here. And where it goes into the closet downstairs is right here. Now, at this particular spot, the closet downstairs didn't actually start till about 3 inches over. And when I drilled, I had to drill at an angle. If I drilled straight down, it would have been in the living room, but it was close enough. I drilled it at an angle, and it came out in the ceiling of the closet downstairs. Okay, this one is complete. Okay, like I said, it's not perfect. The good thing about it is you don't really notice it. It's in the corner of a closet. I could paint it white. I could cover it over with something to protect it. I could put some plaster, some caulk, whatever you put on it. Okay? I don't anticipate ever having to route anything else into the attic. If I did, I could use the same place. I could build, something here. A channel, a chute, some type of a... But anyway, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it the way it is, in all likelihood. Okay, now I'll show you in the closet downstairs how it's coming out. Okay, this is the closet on the first floor. This turns out is a laundry closet. This is where the washer and dryer are. And because I put that at an angle, I had a hard time adjusting it. So I came out about 2 or more inches away. Now this is what I do, and what I did upstairs, but you didn't see it because I had patched over it. I then, with a hacksaw, or actually a series of drill lines, I cut this wallboard, the ceiling wallboard, and dug out a channel to route this now into the corner. I'll patch this later. Temporarily put it up. with some of this sticky tape. Okay, and now you can see that I've added a couple of staples. And here, I haven't added any staples there yet. That just goes down into the seal, into the basement, and I've taken off the baseboards. And this here is still a work in progress. Now I'll show you how I put in these staples, okay? The staples I'm using are the kind you'd use in a staple gun, okay? I just happen to have some of these lying around. These are relatively long staples, and I need the extra length to get some grip. Okay, but I can't use a staple gun because I can't staple a staple gun into that corner. Or I might be able to actually try that, but this plaster is extremely hard. I don't think the staple will go through it. So I pre-drilled a 16-inch hole, partially, just far enough to just get the staple in, and then I'm just going to tap it in. Okay, now I didn't want to use regular cable staples because they have the plastic to protect it. But here I'm doing it manually, and I'm hoping that I'm not going to damage the cable because I'm just putting it in manually. And obviously, the larger cable staples are they're more visually disturbing. Okay, so I'll just pause. The way I drive this in is I use this and I just tap it on the two sides. If I can't get the hammer directly onto the staple. Here I might be able to, but in a tight spot, the punch also works. Okay, so let me just use the pause. Okay, there, I've driven that staple all the way in. Now, because this one is more visible, because it's not on the back side of this laundry closet, okay? When you open the door of the laundry closet and look inside, there's the washer and dryer, etc. Okay, you're going to see that up here. So I might paint that white, even if I don't protect it with anything else, just so it doesn't draw attention to it. Okay. Okay, now I'm not going to bother to go into the basement because there's nothing terribly interesting down there. Once it goes down into the basement, I don't have to worry about the appearance. I get a direct run over to my relay. Transformer, I should say. The transformer that powers the thermostat. Now, I should say one thing. You have to be careful with the two conductors inside this. They are insulated underneath, but if they get shorted to each other, that will burn out the transformer. Okay, that's the load. When it goes into a shorted load, the transformer burns out. Okay, now previously I had some work done when I had a condensing boiler put in. The technician, when he routed the outside thermometer, made use of the same cable staples or the same run that I used for my thermostat wire. And he had this extra wire. This is down in the basement now, not here. And when he used his cable staples, he put them around my thermostat wire and the outdoor thermometer. Only what he did was, he was sloppy, and he ended up nicking or crushing. I can't remember exactly what it was. But anyway, he mashed this so badly that it caused the two wires to short, and it burned out my transformer. Then I had to go buy a new transformer, so I just mentioned that. You do not want to damage these wires, okay? Thanks, that's all for this project.